On October 4th, 2024, I discovered that Grandmaster Zenon died. He was a very prolific author. He wrote many books. He has a very good style, and I would like to show some videos from his books because I think this can be a final lesson from us. For example, this book, Winning Chess Explained, is really interesting because, as you can see, he has a plethora of different topics: pawn sacrifice, exchange sacrifice, regrouping, king's destiny, etc, etc. And there are also exercises, so he really was a good teacher. And I think it would be nice to remember him through his books. So I will show obviously this book, but I will show also some other books like this Lasker Move by Move. It was a book that he liked to very much because I remember he had a picture. He sent me a picture with this, and we exchanged also some emails, some messages. He was very kind, very nice person. I'm sorry he died. He was just 68, and it seems it was cancer who took him away. Sorry. I'm really sorry for him, honestly, because I think he really loved to write about chess and to convey his chess wisdom. And that's really nice because Grandmaster can really find you critical positions, important positions to find, so places where you need to think. And he had this kind of gift, right, to show us these important critical moments in a game. So I would like to show you game 1 from this book. That is, so it's between Alexander Grishuk and Zbigniew Racek. It was played in the Bundesliga 2002-2003 and is a Sicilian defense. The game starts with e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, queen c7, and this is an interesting move, right? Because it seems knight b5 could immediately ask the question to black, where are you going to put your queen? Well, in reality, white played c4, and it says this move entails a pawn sacrifice which black cannot decline. For in that case, white would get a Maroczy type position without having to move his knight from d4. Like playing, like I said, the point was knight b5, he has to play this, and then he plays this. I don't know why he doesn't show us this, probably because this is the problem. As you can see, white gets a kind of good position, right? Because when you do this, I don't know if the theory would make this. The point is that in the Sicilian, like in many other openings, you fight for some squares. And so the fight for d5 is extremely important in the Sicilian, okay? So here we have c4, and now there is knight f6, knight c3, knight takes e4. This was the pawn sacrifice, because after knight takes e4 there is queen e5. Okay, as often you don't answer an attack with a defensive move. You answer an attack with another attacking move, knight b5. Okay, because obviously once you take, there is the problem of this check. Okay, so obviously it takes, bishop e2. Clearly this line, it's very theoretical, because at club player level, would you also maybe sacrifice again? No. And then there is bishop f3, so you clearly need to know what you're doing. And the Sicilian is in fact very, very theoretical. Here he plays queen e5, taking back control of c7, but as always, when you have a defensive piece, you try to dislodge the defensive piece from controlling that square, right, with f4. And now we have queen b8, and white plays this castle. Here there is a diagram, and it says, white has many reasons to have faith in his pawn sacrifice. He leads in development by several tempi. So, several tempi, let's start to count them. Castle is 1, bishop e2 is 2, knight b5 is 3 at least, right? So, knight c6 is 1, so he has 2. But then we have this pawn and this pawn. This pawn controls d5, this pawn controls these two squares, but it's important generally for the attack that he can create. So yes, white is ahead of at least 3 tempi. And this king is safely tucked away. Okay, not really safely, because this diagonal is kind of weak, but okay. Black in any case is not able to attack it at the time. Meanwhile, black bases his defense on the solidity of his weakness-free structure. But it is imperative that he solves his lack of development. White must not waste time either, since his advantages are not long-lasting. And this was a thing that we learn, I think, from Steinitz, right? Steinitz is the one that says, hey, look, there are this type of advantages, some are temporary, some are permanent, so the temporary one must be exploited right away, otherwise they disappear and you have got nothing in your hands. Okay, and this is, as you can see, why I like Grandmaster Zenon writings, because he is explaining the position, so also someone that doesn't know chess much, he could benefit from it. e6, f5. Obviously, once you have the king in the center, as you may have seen other games by Morphy, but I think I show it, but also by Kasparov. Once you have a king in the center, you want to open the lines to attack it. Okay? And here it says, thanks to his leading development, white is going to get some reward already. Either the opening of a f-file, or the establishment of a wedge in front of a black king. a6, knight c3, bishop d6, attacking here, right? And now I tell you, pause for a second the video and try to find the next move by white. Since you surely want to become a title player and you want to improve your chess, a reminder, generally you don't defend, you attack, attack, attack. Because if you don't attack, you're not going to win. Especially in the opening, we are still in the opening. Why? Because the two rooks are not connected. This is still not developed, and this guy, oh my god, is really behind in development. So in the opening, you don't care to sacrifice a pawn, no? But what you care is to bring the attack to the enemy. And so, if you pause your video and now you want the answer is knight e4. As you can see, he doesn't care about defending the pawn h2. And Grandmaster Zenon says it's not time to take defensive measure. The position demands an increase in the difference of the developed pieces. The sacrifice yet another pawn is less important. And black takes it. Why black takes the pawn? Because if black can actually keep it, it's a win. So you must be careful. Obviously, it's nice to sacrifice pawn for trying to create a winning attack, but if you can't, you're going to lose. King h1 and bishop e5. Obviously he wants the bishop back, and notice this bishop is centralized, so he controls the maximum amount of square. Here it says Grishuk analysis concluded that e takes f5 was a better option, but even then he was confident in white's position. However, it is not clear precisely what the basis for his confidence is. And let's see why. Okay, let's see why. Because e takes f5, rook takes f5. Because you see, we have some ideas that are positional, right? But then you must demonstrate over the board that you actually are correct. So, castle. Bishop h5. And black has the defense of knight d8. Okay, I don't know honestly if this position was found thanks to a computer. Honestly, it's a little ugly for black. Why? Because I mean, he has all the pieces on the fourth rank, or the last rank obviously, while white has actually the pieces outside and is ready to attack. I don't know, honestly I don't know, but yeah, I would also prefer Grishuk position. Why? For the simple reason that it's a position that you are attacking, you are doing something. Black, I don't know what he's doing. So let me return back to the diagram, okay? Okay, so this was the position. Black just played this instead of playing this, okay? Again, honestly, I don't know. I liked the Sicilian, but I wouldn't play the Sicilian with a line where I have all my pieces crowded in the last rank, right? Because I generally play the Sicilian for something more violent and tactical. Okay, so let's see what white plays. What would you play in this position? This is a good question because it's a move that maybe you will not imagine. What would you play? White played f6, and here black answered with g6. Grishuk thought it was necessary to eliminate the white pawn with g takes f6, which he had planned to counter with rook takes f6. So imagine that he thinks this is the move, but he doesn't play this. He plays this. So as you can see in the opening, he's giving up a lot of material to try to achieve his goal, which is 1, to keep probably the king in the center, 2, open the lines, 3, attack and finish the king. And here it says giving up the exchange in order to leave the black king exposed and seize the dark squares. Black's two possible decisions had their defects. The capture opened up lines, which tends to favor the better developed side, whereas closing the position with g6 leaves a strong wedge, forming the base for the mating patterns. It's easy to imagine, for instance, the black king castle and the queen on h6. Yes, of course. So here it says, after this, obviously, our friend says, if you do this, I mean, it's gonna be a mess. It looks like messy, right? But he also says when he plays g6, okay, and if you are here, if white can play this, this, and this, is a checkmate, right? So what do? Clearly there are, it seems that the opening didn't go well for black, because honestly I don't like any of the two alternatives. I wouldn't like to play in this position as black. I wouldn't like to play with a position open. So I don't know why a player like this Krajcek, but surely it's a grandmaster level player, had this kind of opening and like it. Okay, so let's see what else. The game continued after g6 with bishop e3. And now white is nearly finishing the development, and notice also how many squares he controls. Also, this is there are a lot of weaknesses, no, stuff that white can enter in, because if he plays bishop c5, it really blocks your king, the black king. In any case, so let's see what else. We are at move 17. He plays d5. Black tries to speed up his development by means of this sacrifice. It was difficult to find another convincing move. Obviously, because if you play this, for example, there is this. And it's really blocking. As you can see, it blocks this, so it's blocking everything, right? So yeah, you need to give up something in order to get out of this difficult position. C takes d5, E takes d5, Queen takes d5. So if we now watch the material, okay, black is still ahead of the pawn, but would you prefer black's position or white position? I honestly would prefer white position, because again, king in the center, this thing here, it's really ugly for black, and watch here, it's really bad, right? It looks bad, but maybe he can develop this, bring it out, I don't know, let's see what happens, right? So the problem is that if he plays this, he says there is this move that practically keeps the king in the center, and then the other rook is coming, okay? And once they open the central file where the king is and he cannot escape, because the rule is that you cannot castle if one of the squares where the king is going, because the castling is a king move, not a rook move. That's why you need to touch the king, because if you do this, this is illegal in chess, okay? Because you are moving the rook. This is a king move, and the squares that the king is passing through must not be controlled by the enemy, okay? So that's another thing that I believe is important. Okay, so we were saying that after bishop e6 he would go there and block it. So what did black play? Black thought, let's castle, okay? But once you castle, the problem of this attack on h6 become real. How does it become real? Boom! Because after you can also do a sacrifice like this, and then go here and it's over, right? Rook d8, Queen c1, okay? And now there is bishop e6. Now here there are many analyses made by Grandmaster Zenon, but I would wish you that you eventually do your own when you think about it, because maybe you say, but why not this, why not playing this? Well, Zenon covered it, okay, and he covered it like I told you, bishop a7, because then it's going here. He doesn't care about the material because the game is over. So you need to find these moves because you will have them in your games in tournament, right? Okay, so after bishop e6, you need to find the best move to win the game. And White found it with the following. You can see it. Boom! Why this is the best move? Because it keeps f8 under control. So if you also try to do this, you don't care, because you take, right? But what else can he do? No? And let's see, however, another defense, because this could be kind of interesting. Let me show you one thing. Instead of bishop e6, let's see that he does this, because he wants to immediately keep this under control. Well, there is bishop c4, right? Knight e5, keeping this and attacking this. At that point you make this move. And that's kind of interesting, right? Because keep in mind that the goal of White is to go on h6. So if you also play this, the game is kind of over, because after this, oops, or eventually you play immediately this, and it does this, for example, and you go here. Now he needs to sacrifice a rook to avoid the checkmate, but also in that case, as you can see, it's over, because the resulting endgame, let's say, with this thing out of the game and the two rooks in the game, it's a win for White, right? So it was a beautiful game shown to us by Grandmaster Zenon, that unfortunately passed away for cancer at 68 on October 4th, 2024. I will show you more games from this book and these other books in an attempt to remember him, because after all, gens una sumus, we are one people, and we should remember our great players and authors, the one that try to teach us something. And I will also show from other books that Zenon has written, since he really wrote a lot, and I like very much his book. Thank you very much for watching.